Your cat is sitting 3 feet away, perfectly still, eyes locked on your fork as it moves from plate to mouth. You know this stare. It's the same one they give you every single meal, the same unblinking focus that makes you wonder if you're being judged, manipulated, or simply observed. Most people assume their cat wants food. Some think it's about dominance or territorial behavior. Both of these are real. Neither is what's actually happening. What's actually happening involves a neurological process that veterinary behaviorists describe as social referencing, and it has almost nothing to do with hunger. Number 1. The gaze that maps your emotional state. In 2019, researchers at Kyoto University studied 58 domestic cats and their responses to human eating behavior. They found that cats don't stare at food. They stare at faces. When the research team used eye tracking technology, 73% of the cat's visual attention during human mealtimes was directed at the owner's eyes and mouth, not at the food itself. The cats were reading microexpressions, the tiny muscular movements around your eyes and lips that signal emotional state. Dr. Saho Takagi, who led the study, discovered that cats increase their staring duration by an average of 12 seconds when owners displayed what the researchers called positive affect, subtle signs of contentment or pleasure. Your cat isn't begging. They're conducting an emotional audit. From their perspective, your face during meals is a data stream about safety, satisfaction, and social stability within the household. A companion study at the University of Portsmouth found that cats adjust their own behavior based on these readings within 90 seconds of observation. If your expression registers as calm and content, cortisol levels in the cat drop by measurable amounts. If you look stressed or distracted while eating, the cat's heart rate increases by an average of 11 beats per minute. They're not watching what you eat. They're watching how eating makes you feel and using that information to calibrate their own sense of security. Number 2. The ancestral algorithm for resource assessment. But there's a second thing happening underneath that social referencing. In 2021, researchers at the University of Lincoln examined the evolutionary origins of feline mealtime observation and found something that contradicts the domestication narrative most people believe. Wild cat species, particularly African wild cats, the direct ancestors of house cats, show identical staring behavior when observing other cats eating. This isn't learned behavior from living with humans. It's hardwired. Dr. John Bradshaw, who has studied cat cognition for over 3 decades, explains it through what he calls opportunity mapping. Cats are solitary hunters, but they're also scavengers. In wild populations, a cat that can accurately assess when another predator has finished eating and how much energy that predator expended to get the meal gains critical survival information. Your cat's stare activates the same neural pathways. They're not hoping you'll share. They're calculating whether your eating pattern suggests nearby food sources, how much effort you expended to obtain the food, and whether your satisfaction level indicates resource abundance or scarcity. A 2020 study published in Animal Cognition tested this by having owners eat meals that required visible preparation versus pre-prepared meals. Cats stared 34% longer when they observed preparation, and their exploratory behavior in the kitchen increased by 89% in the following hour. The watching isn't passive. It's active intelligence gathering about the household's resource ecosystem. Number 3. The synchronization signal you're missing. There's a more recent layer to this that most cat owners never notice because it happens in reverse. In 2022, researchers at Azabu University in Japan discovered that cats who regularly observe human mealtimes begin to synchronize their own eating patterns to match. Not the timing, the rhythm. When researchers monitored 43 cats over 6 months, they found that cats adjusted the duration of their eating sessions to mirror how long their owners typically spent at meals. Owners who ate quickly, averaging 8 minutes per meal, had cats who consumed their food in rapid bursts, averaging 3.2 minutes. Owners who spent 25 minutes eating had cats who grazed slowly, stretching their feeding over an average of 11 minutes. Dr. Hikari Koyasu, who led the research, found that this synchronization reduces conflict behavior by 61%. Almost exactly the same proportion found in studies of human toddlers who eat with their families. Your cat's stare during your meals is part of a behavioral entrainment process. They're learning the social tempo of eating, the household's collective relationship to food and time. This has practical implications for multi-cat households. The research showed that cats who observe synchronized human eating patterns display 47% less food-related aggression toward other cats compared to cats in homes with irregular or solitary human eating schedules. The stare isn't surveillance. It's apprenticeship in your household's feeding culture. Number 4. The oxytocin loop that reinforces the behavior. Here's where it gets really interesting from a neurochemical perspective. A 2018 study at Oregon State University measured oxytocin levels in both cats and owners during shared spaces at mealtime. When a cat stares at an owner who is eating, and the owner makes eye contact back, both species show oxytocin increases. In cats, the spike averaged 12% above baseline. In owners, 8%. But the critical finding was this. The oxytocin increase in cats was highest not when owners offered food, but when owners simply acknowledged the stare with eye contact or verbal interaction while continuing to eat. Dr. Kristen Vitale, who conducted the research, discovered that this creates a reinforcement loop. The cat stares, gets an oxytocin reward from the social acknowledgement, and the behavior strengthens. Over time, the stare becomes less about food assessment and more about social bonding maintenance. This explains why some cats continue intense mealtime staring, even in households where they're never fed table scraps. The behavior has been neurochemically rewarded into permanence. From your cat's perspective, your mealtimes have become an opportunity for oxytocin-driven connection, a ritualized moment of mutual attention that their brain has learned to crave. The staring isn't manipulation. It's the feline equivalent of sitting together in companionable silence, except they need the visual lock to trigger the neurochemical experience of togetherness. The next time your cat assumes that position, the silent vigil 3 feet from your dinner, here's what's actually happening. They're reading your emotional state through facial microexpressions to assess household stability. They're running an ancestral algorithm that maps resource availability based on your eating behavior. They're synchronizing their relationship to food timing with yours to reduce social conflict. They're triggering an oxytocin loop that reinforces your bond through mutual attention. All of this is happening simultaneously. Layered processes that have nothing to do with begging and everything to do with how cats navigate the social and survival complexity of living with another species. The science on this is not ambiguous. Your cat's stare is sophisticated communication, not simple desire. Understanding this changes what you owe that stare. Not food. Acknowledgement, a glance back, a few words, the recognition that you see them seeing you. That's what the behavior is structured to receive, and that's what the research shows actually matters to your cat. If you found this useful, subscribe and let me know in the comments what your cat does during your meals, because there are 5 other behaviors happening at that moment that most people completely miss.